Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to quickly show you my Dendrobium kingianum. Despite being a mostly Callia grower, I do grow some Dendrobiums, especially the Australian Dendrobiums. Dendrobium is a very big orchid genus. It's probably, I think, the second largest right after Bulbophyllum. There's a lot of sections within Dendrobium, and Aussiedens is one of them. And if you think of some other notable mentions being like the soft cane one that requires a winter rest, like a nosmum or a phyla. They're really pretty when they flower in mass in the spring, and some other dendrobiums like the antelope type or the Phalaenopsis dendrobium. Those are more tropical, hard cane, but they grow very big, especially the antelope type. They grow huge, but they're also very long-lasting flowers, flower free throughout the year. But then we also have those Australian dendrobiums that are known for being very hardy and robust. And everyone says kingianum is like a really fast grower. In my experience, Aussiedens, they either just grow a lot very quickly, or they kind of pause and rest. And kingianum is probably the most famous slash wildly cultivated and fastest growing Australian dendrobium, and speciosum is the other one. But just before I go into details about the other Aussiedens, let's just look at this beautiful kingianum. And it's also a very, very variable species. You can see the flower here is mostly just a purplish color without any crazy patterns or anything. And the size is kind of a medium size. Ooh, why isn't my camera focusing? All right, there you go. It's kind of a medium sized. And some kingianums are tiny, like as tall as the thumb, and some of them a little bit taller, but most of them are probably about like half a foot or so in height. And in terms of growth habit, those are hard-caned dendrobiums, but unlike Cattleyas, they can repeatedly flower on the same cane, the same old cane. If you see all those spikes and on the same cane, they are growing new flowers. So that's one thing about the Aussiedens, is do not cut off the old canes. And the other thing that's sort of special about Dendrobium kingianum, and maybe a little bit about one subspecies of speciosum, is the tendency to produce keikis. This one actually doesn't produce a lot of keikis, that's why I like it. But as you can see, this one, if you go all the way down, oops, not that one. Where did it go? This one, if you go all the way down, it started as a pseudobulb, and then it flowered, and then it kind of just died off. So this one doesn't have a lot of keikis, but you can see Dendrobium kingianum with crazy amount of keikis. Personally, I don't really like them just because they get messy and entangled mass. But yeah, just being a very variable species and all. And some other things is that they are very, very hardy. In nature, I think they're lithophytes mostly. They grow on rocks. So in my experience, their roots are not as they don't grab onto things as well as like most of the Callias. But I grow mine in just like gravel, and I think this is actually a special kind of gravel that has holes in them, and some other rocky mix. They're pretty okay here. And what else? They like a lot of sun. It's mostly a outdoor orchid, but just don't burn them in direct sun right away, but they like a lot of sun. Some other thing I want to mention is that kingianum usually requires or prefers a cooler temperature before flower is triggered. But of course, they cannot stand freezing, but anything close to freezing, I think they can handle. Actually, they like. I got this specific plant because I bought it in Florida because I was mostly living in really cold parts that I can't really grow them outside. But so this one I saw it flower in Florida. I was like, well, maybe it doesn't require as stringent of a winter rest. But now, since I was growing it outside in the winter, it's actually been sufficiently chilled, and now spring is kind of close. You can see how many spikes it's putting out. It's not. The other thing is that I've noticed about the kingianums or the Aussiedens, or the kingianum especially, is that the flowers aren't all just like opening at once. It's kind of like really taking its time to open. So despite having a lot of spikes, it's not like, oh wow, it's like a splash of all the flowers at once. And in my experience, those flowers are very easily dropped for some reasons. Like, you give them wet and they kind of just wither and go away. The other thing I want to mention is that they are very, very fragrant. Oh, there's someone downstairs. They're very, very fragrant. They smell like probably like honey and hyacinth in a way, but a very sharp fragrance. This individual again is not the most fragrant, but it's kind of just a mediocre kingianum, if I were to say. But I do like it. It doesn't produce a lot of keikis. Oh, and one last thing, they handle being root bound really well. Okay, so this is a kingianum. They flower a lot of spikes on the same spike, on the same cane. I also have a really beaten down speciosum. So I got this one, I think a year ago, but it was living inside in my apartment. But like if you don't think kingianum is an indoor orchid, you definitely should not grow speciosum inside. So it didn't really have the best year, but it still grew a lot of roots. And then last fall, it put out those 2 little kings. And right now, just living outside, and you see the leaves are kind of burned, but this is a very robust plant. Despite not being the fastest growing, I'm not too worried about it. As you can see, some of the flower buds are actually starting to emerge. So hopefully at least will flower a little bit. But from what I heard about speciosum is that they have, great years, and some years they just kind of don't do anything. So this is probably the year they don't really do anything. But we'll see. Speciosum has a lot of subspecies, and I think this is just the speciosum subspecies. But there are other subspecies like this pedunculatum. I think it's called. What's it called? Basically, the flower spike has a really long peduncle. It really emerges above the leaves, but those plants tend to stay on the smaller size. And those are very, very drought tolerant. I basically grow them like a cactus. And some other subspecies that I don't have, that are not really that widely available in the States. But if you're in Australia, you're in luck. Okay, one other Aussiedon that I do grow, well, 2 others, one's actually inside. But this one is Dendrobium falco-rostrum. I read it online to be very, very fragrant, but to be honest, it's very hard for me to find this species, and it's kind of slow growing. It's not the most robust grower. I don't know if it's just the genetics of this specific ones, or something happened to it. Like, it doesn't really grow much, and that king actually finally grew, but I was traveling and it kind of just died, and then somehow the whole plant rotted away. I don't know why, but when it's the healthy ones are still healthy. They're just not doing much. Like, they're growing a little bit of roots, but they're just kind of just hanging out. I don't really know what to do about them, but also they're also native to like a cool part in New South Wales, I think. So that it's moist, it's cool, it's kind of like a cloud forest from my impressions. So I don't know, but we'll see. Hopefully this one flowers for me. Alrighty, and the other Dendrobium Aussiedons I have is inside is Tetragonum. That's the one with the classic ridged kings that it has like 4 sides, like tetragonum. Tetra is 4. So that one's also kind of cool, but that one is from more warmer parts. I don't really leave it outside in the winter outside. Alrighty, one last look at my kingianum, and hopefully the car outside is gone. Look how pretty it is. And like, for example, this king, oops, it's giving me 2 flower spikes. That's not even the best it can do, but the other king is just, they have a lot of spikes per king. And this one, I was growing it right here, and so there was never a good direction to face the sun from the top, so the flower is kind of all over the place. But regardless, it's a beautiful plant. It's very fragrant in the morning. It's kind of fragrant in the morning, and it's very robust. Alrighty, well, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.